I'm Dream Queen. You're in the cab with me. Thank you so much for rolling. I have in the studio as my guest my good friend, Bad DJ.
I'm honored to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, my pleasure.
And honored to be at KMRD. Love this station. It has done so much, and so have you, for our sweet little town here. Yeah, no, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Same. I mean, I tell people when your name comes up, you're my auntie. You're like just a very close friend and family to me, and we share wisdom and a great bond.
Yes, we do.
I am very glad to have you here.
Thanks.
So to share your wisdom and thoughts, and we're going to have a little conversation about the subject of that song, pretty much. People are people. Why should it be that you and I should get along so awfully?
Well, I think that's one of the biggest tricks of being here in this particular culture. I think this culture in the U.S. is a harder one to be in than some of the others. I've been in Europe for 6 months a long time ago, and the difference is palpable. And that we in this country are taught to individuate, whereas other countries, it's my personal experience, and that's all I can go by, is it's not that way. It's different. It's interesting to, and of course, I was in Europe at a time where things were different. They aren't what they are now. This country isn't what it was back then. I mean, yeah.
When were you in Europe, and where were you?
Let's see. I was all over. We flew into Luxembourg. We bought bicycles and were bicycling Europe when you didn't do that. Oh, we got reprimanded several times. What are you doing on the Autobahn? Get off of here! Blah 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 blah.
No, you bicycling the Autobahn, and I've never been on there, but I heard
we
it's
never
a big
got
highway.
On the Autobahn. Right. Okay, we got Heck no. You know?
I was like, I heard they drive 100.
But they do. But we were on the streets, and the streets weren't used to having bicyclists. So, and it was an experience. It was a growing up experience. It was, 18, 19, something like that. And it changed me, literally changed me. Germany showed me what real beer was. France and Spain both showed me what real pastries were. And by the time I came back to this country, I understood the falseness of some of it, which to me was really good to see that young. I think a lot of people don't have the opportunity or take the opportunity to get out of this country before they're older, right? And to me, it's important. The younger you can get out and see what other countries do, the better perspective you have on this one. And like you say, how do we learn to get along with each other? Is our culture helping? Well, this particular culture doesn't help people get along. In fact, it's the opposite. This culture relies on fear, which we all know, and the other one, which I not that long ago learned, which was really shocking. What are the two things that sell the most? Sex and rage. I didn't realize how much rage is part of it, and that is exactly, what has happened to this country. And, being, how do I say this? Being someone who was abused as a child, that leaves, people don't sexually abuse your children, basically, because it pisses us off, and then we go into society being crappy people, judgmental, jerks like I have been. But the nice thing is to be able to grow up and grow out and see the trauma and learn to be able to get close to people, not just take that trauma and go isolate, because that's pretty common to me, I see in this country. And of course, the isolation isn't always wanted. It's like myself being out of Madrid I won't be back in for almost 2 years. It's like we have to be careful what we do with each other. And it's taken me into this age to really get how damaged I was, and to be able to fix it and to be a better human being and not just be some rageful little twit that, and that's what a lot of people are. And I get it. I understand it. Our isolated nuclear families that was ripped out of the tribe aren't healthy. For the most part, I don't think I've met one family that is healthy in totality. There's always one issue, right? And it's usually severe. But that's okay. Sometimes I think that that's why we come to this planet, is to work out these little nuances of how to be better people. Anyway.
Wow. What an introduction to the show. I'm going to use it to go backwards.
Yeah. Go
because there's a lot to digest. And I want to remind people, I haven't plugged the link tree or the archives for a second. And I think you opened the door wide open for me to do that and remind people that we did read All About Love by Bell Hooks together.
Yes.
And here we are opening up Venus's scene with the Taurus season, and the subject is love, is self-love and love for others, romantic love, our families, healing love.
Right.
And so if y'all want to go to In the Cab Radio at Linktree, In the Cab Radio on Instagram or Facebook, and you can get that Linktree link or just type it in, and you can hear Bad DJ and some other DJs from KMRD and other friends as we sit down and talk about Bell Hooks All About Love. Sadly, it's not in the podcast archives yet. I didn't want to go so far backwards, and I didn't think I was the best interviewer back then. And I've got difficult relationships with some people who are on those shows now. Like, I mean, we cracked open and then it closed, But I think there is a wealth of insight in Bell Hooks. But y'all can find those episodes on the Mixcloud. In the Cab Radio on Mixcloud. Please go there and check them out.
Right on. So before you leave Bell Hooks, I just mentioned her the other day in a post. I was recommending Bell Hooks to basically everyone because I think that these are the places where if I want to, and it's things I have done, if I want to be a better human being, which I do, when I see how, hey, that didn't work, you're pushing people away, and that's the opposite of what you want. You have to go in and learn that. And when you use the word love, one of the things I've understood is we have to define it. What is love? And what does it do? And what does it look like? And I'm trying to pull in what Bell Hooks, what her go-to was, and it was from another book.
She builds on M. Scott Peck.
That's it.
From The Road Less Traveled. Love is the willingness to extend oneself for one's own and another's spiritual growth.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a wow.
Yeah.
Amazing thing to be committed to.
And then I can't believe I don't have the copy. I'm on a pet sit right now, and I hadn't been home before the show to do that last minute grab. There's so many Saturdays that I'm on my way out the door, and then I'm like, let me just grab this book real quick, And I think that would have happened today, but we decided at the last minute to get you on. I saw you on the street yesterday, and I love it, y'all. I usually don't try to do too much on Fridays, but every time I go outside, it's good for the show, I tell you, because there's the recipe for love, the practice of love, right? What do they call it? The art of loving, right? And we have care, respect, knowledge, trust, and
there's one more. I can't remember what it is.
A couple more. Ooh. 473-9696. If you know that, any of my crew out there listening or someone with the book, call the studio. I will do something rare and answer the phone while we're on mic to get that answer. If you got it, because I think it's right in the beginning. It's like,
well, I'm going to expand on this. I'm going to go with this because the definition of love is, to me, so important. Okay. Our culture told us what love meant, and our culture lied to us 100%. Okay. That ain't it, people. Love is action, and it will always be action, how we treat each other. And, and to me, that's important, being someone who had shall we say, a little bit of a rough start here on this planet. It's gotten better, but we have to work real hard to understand. And I think that, that notion of love, I mean, come on, the divorce rate is up to 50% now. We clearly need a little bit better something to let people know what they're getting themselves into. Because right now, to me, it's just a fairy tale. And that fairy tale doesn't last except for with half of the people who are actually probably really willing to do the work. Because marriage takes work. And it's more than marriage to me. It's, at least in my world, it's negotiating all the relatives too. And learning to, how do I say this, whether I like them or not. I mean, Madrid's taught me the same thing. It doesn't matter whether I like someone or not. It matters how I treat them, especially if I don't like them. It doesn't matter. It does not matter whether we like someone. It matters how we treat them. And that's what I have learned. And I'm getting better. Madrid's seen me at my worst. That's for darn sure. And I'm okay with that. That's part of allowing ourselves to get to know each other. Because one of the things that I really like, I wish I remembered to bring it. It's a quote by Alec.
Oh, Manon?
Yes, Manon. And I love what he says, because that's where I'm at. My culture told me love is a certain thing, and it lied to me. And when I heard what he said, basically here's what he says, and I like this. I see my friends, okay, some of my friends, not all of them, some of my friends doing what the culture told them to do. And it is this, for example. Say a man who's partnered with a woman will only open up to that one woman. And I don't think that's okay. I think we need to be an open individual wherever we are, and honest wherever we are, not just reserve some kind of best for this partnership. That's, to me, just helps with that isolated coupling stuff. And it doesn't help resolve. And the isolated coupling also allows for, if I may bring something back in, a little bit of sexual abuse with the children. This isolation does. And so that's why I believe I like what he says, which is, no, we have just love, period. Everyone around us to the same degree. Wow. I mean, I'm still grooving on that thought, because how easy is that? How hard is that? I was talking to someone the other day. It's to me, it's like work. When I work, I give it 100%, no matter what I do. And I have been, I have been called on that. I remember Daisy, love you, Daisy. Daisy said, "You know what your problem is, Gwendolyn?" And I think I've told you this before, Jada.
No,
or Great Queen.
I'm smiling because they're having a lot of conversations that start with, "You know what your problem is?"
You know what your problem is?
No, please tell me.
Anyway, it took me years for the comeback. But she said this to me. I think I was 21 when she said it. She said, "Your problem is you give 100%."
Yeah, I've heard that from me too.
And you know what? Here's my response to her now. You know what your problem is? You don't. It's true. Yeah. What if everybody went to work, Jada, and gave 100% in the job they do? What if? What if I went to work and whatever I do, I run into you as a customer and I give you my 100%? What would the world be then? Wow. How about that? Not that everybody's capable of giving 100%, because I'm going to allow for difference. Okay? But what a concept, you know? If I go and I make a product and I have a crappy day and I know that I messed up on that and I'm going to let it slide, and you're going to buy that product out there and have to go through all this rigmarole, that's not me. I don't know why. I don't care why. I like giving 100%.
Let's talk about allowing for difference.
Okay.
And deep wounding. So when you were talking about the quote about giving 100% to all of our friends, or, you know, everywhere like this, I heard someone talking, I think it was Abraham Hicks.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And they were discussing when you're dating or having a conversation with a friend or anyone that you meet, when they're like, "Tell me about yourself." And we pick what we want to tell. And when we come from the place of wounding and reliving our wound through our story about what happened to us, and since sometimes people will just focus on only the good things that happen to us and our experience, and those put us in the past. But when we talk about our future or our present, that's a better place to come from.
Right.
Or staying in the happy memory. Now, I found this to sound a bit spiritual bypassy. However, remaining open, because I know there's a lot of wisdom in Abraham Hicks in these conversations. As I stay open, it brought a disagreement that was coming to my mind, where I'm telling someone that I'm close to, we need to talk about where we are and then how actions affect each other's wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a responsible conversation to have, especially in sexual relationships, and maybe I'm not ready to tell someone else about the physicality left behind by sexual abuse, but my physical lover definitely needs to know, or certain emotional wounds that aren't. What are your feelings on that? How much should we share and with whom?
Well, you're getting into something that to me is, like you said, a super important conversation. Here's why. Because my identity, we have to bring up the word identity with what you just said.
Right.
Am I so locked into my identity that all I am is a, quote, victim or a survivor or whatever you want to call it? Well, there's a road beyond all that where that stuff doesn't exist. It's about living in the future, not the past. This last year and a half has been big with re-looking at what I have identified with, right? We have to be careful what we identify with. And to me, it is more important to identify with the future than the past. Because yes, past bad things happen to pretty much all of us, okay? Is that where I'm always coming from? Okay, am I always living in the past and always having that? I didn't want that. I remember one year being in a group of 10 or 12, I don't know, 11, 9, there were a bunch of us, okay? And after a year in that group, I was so bored with their stories. And, it's like they were beginning to identify as a victim and a survivor. And that's their choice, and I don't put that down. What I'm saying is that's okay. That's the road they need to travel, right? Well, my road was different. I knew that I didn't want to wrap my identity in my past and around that particular event, right? Because I'm so much more than that. But it's taken a lifetime to see that, especially in this culture. This culture is very hard to come out from under. Because when we run into rough stuff, often, this is my interpretation, often I think people think, oh, it's me. I've done this before. Oh, it's me. No, it isn't. It's your culture. Look at your culture. Step back and see what your culture put on you and be willing to take that off. It's hard to do because it's showing up and being present. I think that's when I say giving 100%, that's really what I'm saying is be present. I am present. I'm doing the best I can. I'm as present as I can be in any given moment, all the time.
It's so tricky, and I want to give some voice to the other side of our culture that really does encourage us to forget the past. I talk about amnesia on this show. And currently we're in an expungement of history. So I want to let the people listening and the spirits listening to give honor to the travels that we've made to get here now.
Absolutely.
And it is very much a tool to have us say, well, that didn't happen, or you're remembering it wrong, or you're wounding. Because then they take it, they take it, and then they use it in the future against me.
Right.
Well, your people ain't never been crap. Your people are incapable of X, Y, Z. Well, because you erased all of our history out of the book and what we actually built and did for you.
Right.
So now you're using it to push me down.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, when it comes to personal relationships too, if a person can understand where not to play with me, we would get along a lot better. It's not the burden. Like, I can't look at a person with I used this analogy with you yesterday, and I want to go on it a little bit, with a limp or a visible physical disability and say, well, this was in the Gibran 2 weeks ago, you can't move as fast as me. You're just using the fact that your foot doesn't work right as an excuse, and it's like, this is still something that I have to contend with. And for me, that's my skin color and my sexual orientation and my presentation or not of femininity.
Yeah.
So then my identity or my avatar in a hostile society, as much as I can think I'm moving out away into Madrid, but then I look up and I'm surrounded by people who have not processed what our culture has done to people and their part in it.
Right.
And come out their mouth any old kind of way to me.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to just be like, it's just going to be in the present. Well, in the present, I'm still going to slap you because I still have wounds.
Yeah.
And they're being used
Yeah.
against me for supremacy. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah.
It's a foot in both worlds.
That's a hard one. I'm not saying forget history. I will never say that. Forget our personal history. Yes, that's different because that's a personal thing that I get to do for just me.
Yeah.
This isn't about anybody else.
Right.
This is about me not latching my identity onto something horrific, but latching my identity onto something awesome and beautiful. That's what I've learned.
And I'm not even playing devil's advocate. I have
because
a
the history
question.
Remembering that history is super important. Oh gosh, especially right now in this country. Come on. We're seeing it replayed.
For me, I talk about the wound, the Chiron wound, and even the astrology here. And the idea that we can use our wounding to teach others. Mm-hmm. And I want to accept that we're all here on different philosophies and we're just moving ideas around. Mm-hmm. And there is no one right way to be a human. No,
there's not. But let me ask you this. When does the wound heal?
It doesn't. That's the point of a Chiron wound. I use astrology as a storytelling tool. Mm-hmm. Just like we use parables and fables, the planets have stories. Mm-hmm. And people have been observing for thousands of years how these make people... I'm just for the audience as well.
I know nothing about the Chiron wound.
Yes.
That's the first. I'm hearing this for the first time. But in the emotional of, say, me being on this planet and healing... I have discovered that it's important to heal. It's just like the seeker. If someone's a seeker, they better know how to arrive or they're going to seek for the rest of their lives and never arrive.
And some people don't have a problem with that because when you arrive, it's almost like you stop. So if I've thought through with you the riddle and you and I have talked about how does the seeker arrive because I consider myself to be a lifelong seeker. Mm-hmm. And a traveler. And so my interpretation of how the seeker arrives is knowing that we are here within myself. So I'm always where I'm going.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're a seeker, but you also allow yourself to arrive. I've witnessed it. You hold seeking in the one hand and you hold arriving in the other. That's being both all the time. You're never not one of those. You hold them all the time. So yes, you can be a seeker. That's why I say to the seeker who doesn't know how to arrive, please allow yourself to arrive.
Can you say more about what you mean by arriving? Like
it's like you see the lesson. You can say, "Oh, there it is. Right. Oh, I got here. Look at this. I learned this, and they did this, and I said that, and we both got upset, and blah blah blah." And oh, okay, got it. And you come to some kind of understanding either with yourself or in conversation with the other person, if necessary. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things our culture doesn't want us to do is hold both things at once. It, in fact, insists that we don't. And that's a divisive tool. As long as I hold the good in one hand and the bad in the other hand, because guess what? I am grateful for the bad stuff too. Oh man, we better learn to be grateful for the bad stuff, just as grateful for the good stuff, because that is exactly how it works. We have them both in our hands at all times if we choose. It's like, here's a conversation. Let me just go in there because somehow this is related. It's about being a jerk. Okay, I can say I'm a jerk. I know I am. I know when I'm a jerk. And that's a good thing that I know that. Why? Because when you tell me, for example, if you said, hey, you were a jerk when you said blah, 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 guess what? Because I already know I'm a jerk, I can hear that. Oh, I'm not a jerk. Oh, I'm not. I'm this, not that. That's that I'm this, not that crap. Humans are amazing. We have the ability to be whatever the heck we want to be. And holding both things at the same time allows something different to happen. It's a different world. It's moving out of duality. I think when we only know how to hold one of them, I just want to hold the good stuff. Oh, run away from the bad stuff. No, the bad stuff is part of being here.
Well, we need more arms. Okay. If we covered that in duality, I need more arms. Because, I only got two, and blessed for that. There's people out there who don't have one. But I'm going to, it's, when you were talking about that, it made me think of the Hindu deities and how they have so many arms holding so many
right.
different
So
tools,
things, yes.
and there's weapons, there's blessings,
Yes.
and there's mudras. And
Yes.
allow me to finish the thought on Chiron. I also want to go because we have different ways of showing up here and how we each use what we're given. And again, I look at astrology like almost like an instruction manual for each individual person. That's why the birth chart with your time and you specifically is you specifically, right? So how I deal with my wounds and how you deal with yours are different, right? And so the Chiron Complex is based on the Centaur Chiron. And for those of you who are new to the show, if you go to In the Cab Radio, you can go back to November and I do a Chiron show. Anyway, but the idea is that he was a child of a rape and was cast out by his mother because of his hideous looks. She was a nymph and a god. I forgot which one. I think Zeus is the rapiest one. But anyway, this god turned into a horse or a stag and mated with this nymph against her will. And then she got pregnant and had this baby that was a centaur. And so because he was a demigod, and he was not naturally born a centaur, which are known to be crude and in a whole different way. He was born with the god's mentality, and she threw him away. Apollo adopted him, found him floating, kind of like the Moses story. Found him floating, took him in, and then he and his sister Athena and Artemis and all of these other homies taught him the healing arts. They taught him art and music, and they taught him the warrior arts. And then he got so good, other deities and demigods came to him, like Achilles and Perseus and all these other cats trained under him. And one day Achilles came to his house to visit after being out, and he accidentally wounded Chiron on the side with his sword that had been dipped into poison. I don't know if it was the Medusa thing or anything like that, but because he was immortal, he couldn't die. But this wound caused him a lot of pain. But he asked the gods to take him, and they said, no, you still got work to do down here. And so he's still working and training with this pain. How many of us have chronic emotional pain or physical pain? But he still went out and did the best he could, 100%, to show up for his role. Until one day he did something, and I still have told this story so many times that every time the punchline is, I forgot what he did. But he impressed the gods, and they decided to grant him whatever he wanted. And he said, please release me from this mortal coil. Yeah. And so they did, and then they put him in the sky as the constellation Sagittarius. And that's how we have Sagittarius as teacher, as the ninth house symbolic of education and travel and higher learning. And so he was elevated in this. The story doesn't end because we still have that constellation and all of us embody aspects. And that's why I like to talk about the myth or the stories of these constellations and planets, because it gives us a chance to kind of tickle that part of us that can be an ascended master. And some of us say, well, heck, this wound is so painful. What am I going to do with it? And that's where Pluto comes in. And how can I transform myself and others? And some of us carry transmutation medicine specifically. I challenge as a rattlesnake wrangler, that we have that kind of medicine, right? Have had it right in our face. Right. But what we turn it into is each our own path. I'm a 29 degrees Sagittarius on my ascendant. So I'm like, I'm going to teach everybody about what not to do, or how we not only survive a thing, but thrive from it. Yeah. And grow into something greater.
Something new.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Grow into something new. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Okay. So back to Chiron for a minute. So, what was what you said about his wound? It was permanent. What was it? It won't heal.
It was unhealable.
Oh, that was unhealable.
It was a chronic wound.
But wait a minute, it did get resolved.
He has to be released from life,
and he did get released.
Yes.
Okay, so that is the resolution.
That's what I was saying. It resolves with him becoming an ascended master.
Okay.
In the constellation, but we are still given the gift of his journey and struggle, which includes acquiring a wound. Do we see the medicine is often, the cure is often in the ailment?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, I don't want us to get lost in I want to forget this happened to me, or I want to put it behind me.
It becomes something else when the wound is healed. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying forget it. I'm saying it gets forgotten in a different way, not like forgetting history. It's important we don't forget history. But something happens when it's becoming a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I'm now a person without a particular wound because I choose not to carry it with me.
That snake shedding.
And yet it made me who I am. Right? Right. But I don't have to be a prisoner to it. That's all I'm saying about trauma and wounds. You don't have to be a prisoner to them. That we can always be in motion with them, right? In process with them. And they can heal. It is doable to heal. Absolutely, it's doable. Anyway, thanks for explaining Chiron's wound. I didn't understand. I'd never heard that story.
How do we support each other? Because healing doesn't happen overnight. You've got some years on me. I've got some years on other folks. And each of us goes according to our own pace and our ability to seek out appropriate help. And then even then, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And if we're not going to isolate, then we have to what?
Well, we're going to rub up against each other. And that's, to me, the good friend of mine said this many, many years ago. And I see it. I see it from, I talked about my community on Lopez, 5 by 15 Mile Island. Yes, that's a tight community. Came here, found Madrid. And this is, too, a tight community. Thank goodness. But where was I going with that? Getting a little lost here.
We were talking about how to come together in our wounding and be vulnerable.
It's that, and that's just it. If we're going to continue to rub up against each other, okay, we're going to rub the crap off, and the shine will come. And that's how. Look at where the diamond's found. You have to dig down through the roughage to find those diamonds, and it's when we rub against each other. That's what happens. And we're meant to rub against each other. We're not meant to isolate like we're doing. We're meant to live in tribes. Period. And we don't have our tribe. A lot of people don't have their tribe on this planet right now. And so we make our tribe. And what I have learned about tribe just from living both on Lopez and here in Madrid is that there are going to be people we don't like. And that's why somewhere in there, someone helped me understand that it doesn't matter whether you like or it's irrelevant. What is relevant is how am I treating them? And I haven't always been successful in treating people well. I know that. I'm the first person to admit that. But the thing is, I see it, I know it, and I grow and I change. And be willing to accept the change and be willing to say, okay, that wound is healed. How do I know? Because I'm the only one that's going to know when that wound is healed. And then I can, there's where I talk about forgetting. My identity can forget how wrapped up it was in that. And I'm not going through the world saying, hey, here I am wounded. Look at my wound. Here, go ahead and wound me some more, or whatever it is. It's like, no. That's where, personal boundaries come in. And boy, you talk about personal boundaries being hard and having to create, sexual abuse in children creates horrid boundaries that it's taken me a lifetime to find good boundaries. And that's pretty much true across the board for anyone who is sexually abused. You got your row to hoe. And so it's a row that I have hoed and for a long time. And what happens through the years is the nuances of that injury quit coming up. And then maybe in another 5 years, a nuance of it will come back up. Nuances of it do come up, and I don't pretend they don't. And I deal with them when they come up. Oh, look at that. I didn't realize that was an aspect of myself that came from that when I was a kid. Wow. And I get to change when I see it, right? If that's appropriate. or embrace it. It's like, hey, you did good there. Look at how you helped and you healed yourself and you kept going, and now you're, you love yourself. You have better boundaries. Good boundaries are everything. This culture does not teach us, Jada, good boundaries. And if you want, you ask me what we can do, that's one right there, is personal boundaries. Make sure your personal boundaries are intact.
A lot of people have trauma around speaking their boundaries to people.
Yes.
And it's...
I'm working on one now. Yeah. I guarantee you that. I'm working on one right now. Like I have to... I still don't like it, but what I do is I'll go to my other friends to help give me courage and to talk through the little nuances of it, because I have to go back somewhere and deal with something that's super important to me that got messed up. Oh, you mean I got to go back and confront them? Oh, no. Yeah, but we do that. We have to grow ourselves up that way. And yes, it's hard. It's not easy, but I don't know. What's the option? I mean, that's what I ask myself. What's the option? Oh, I not do this and have this floating and hanging over me for the rest of my life? No. I'm going to go deal with it. Anyway.
Well, you're talking some brave words there. Here at the 29th degree of Aries. Taurus is happening in 4 hours, folks. Just chill out. No, but it is. It's like, that's, to me, is the Venus in Aries. She's coming out of Pisces now. But right now today, I wanted to mention to people in the first hour, Mars trining Venus. Venus in Pisces and Mars moving into Aries, into Leo right now. That beautiful trine is about love and what do we fight for? How do we fight for it? And bravery, the courage that we find from our loved ones. I appreciate that you said that, Yeah,
well, that's what I've learned to do is I don't go straight and talk to someone. I talk to other people first because I need to temper myself and get my head straight, because you learn yourself. It's like if I am hot emotionally, I'm going to go in hot, and that's not healthy. No, don't go in hot. Work that out on your own with your friends. That's what your friends are for, and then do it. And I think one of the things that comes up a lot, and that I realize, and you just use the word fight. I'm tired of fighting. I'm not fighting anymore. I fought my whole life. I will not fight anymore. And not to say there aren't things worthy of dealing with. I'm not saying I'm not calling my congressperson and representatives and doing what I can on that arena, but there's a kind of, I still have to explore that one more. But there's something I laid down, and it feels good to lay that down. Mm-hmm. And it's restful. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's important to know where our roles are.
Well, I think they continually change, too.
Right.
That's what I'm finding.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because, may I refer to you, since you don't want to fight, I'm going to use some fight words. As an elder, I got to bring it.
Hey,
but
you, of all people, taught me about nonviolence. You and a few other, you, Janice, Elizabeth, Stella, there's, no, it's like, I get it. I see it. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. But no, the it's all with all respect. The idea that we give certain things to certain people at certain stages when they want to take it on.
Yeah.
And that I still have a bit of fight in me, though. I want peace as much as I can get.
Yeah.
Period. And the way that I look at what fighting looks like. If it doesn't look like violence, but it looks like resisting atrophy, and sometimes resistance is it's a response.
Yeah.
I'm going to resist this, but what am I going to do to overcome it?
Yeah.
And so we get caught up in semantics on this show a lot, and I think the vibe is really the most important thing. Is what we mean, about that. Because I have to fight fascism, but I don't have to use the word fight. Like, there's other words to use for that.
Yeah, no, because I resist all that stuff too.
Yeah.
I won't stop resisting. But fighting to me is something different that I personally had to lay down
Yeah.
because it was detrimental to my health. Yeah.
And then other cats say, well, what you resist persists. Well, then I'm not just resisting it. I'm dealing with it. I like how you brought the word deal with it.
Yeah, well, it's important too. Wherever it's like the sore in your mouth that your tongue keeps going to, right? You have to go deal with it to resolve it. Anyway.
I guess we got to get off the radio now. We've
Really?
talked the whole time. It's
Holy
9:54
cow.
now.
Oh, I thought we were going to break.
I said we're going to look at the time because I know that you and I are going to get together and go on and on.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any closing thoughts that you want to leave people with?
No, I just thank the listening audience for being there. That's for sure. And tuning in and finding this conversation worthy. Appreciated. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and chat because, this always helps me know how I feel and where I'm at a little bit better to sit and put it into words so concisely within an hour. Very helpful. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you as well. I love to pollinate over here.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see you again before you go.
Right on.
Door is always open for you here.
Thank you.
Always.
Thank you very much.
Love everyone. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. In the Cab Radio at Linktree. You can see all the links. And In the Cab Radio at Gmail. Send me a note. Okay? In the Cab Radio at Instagram. In the Cab Radio is produced by Jada White, aka Dream Queen. Original theme music produced by Baby Weekend Boys and Icky Mac the Beat Jugular. Learn more at In the Cab Radio at Linktree. Thank you so much for tuning in.